From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
And we have returned. We're leaving Alaska and the US and Earth temporarily. We're traveling to deep space, but not perhaps in an inspiring, beautiful, fun, sciencey adventure kind of way. Instead, we're traveling a much more, Doc, could I get some scary space music? Perfect. A much more Event Horizon way, a much more early Aliens franchise way. You see, it turns out that a darkness from beyond the stars is destroying our galactic neighbors. I love how Lovecraftian and creepy this is, but we don't really need the drama for this because the story itself is already pretty disturbing. Here's what's happening. So if you can travel at the speed of light and you want to visit some local stars in our neighborhood, then for a while you would have wanted to travel to a star cluster known as Hyades. The Hyades are about 153 light years away. And if you look up in the night sky and there's not too much pollution, you'll see it as the V-shaped collection of stars at the head of the constellation that we call Taurus here in the West. The thing is that when you look at it with a telescope, you'll be able to see that it's a group of stars that are bound together by the covenant of gravity. It's about 60 light years across. But what we learned recently is that we're looking at something that's a lot less like a brand new helicopter and a lot more like the remnants of something that crashed. Because this star cluster used to have thousands and thousands more stars. But something got them. Just in case, anybody was feeling too comfortable.
I think I saw a tweet you did, Ben, like this is the season finale we all deserve or something like that. Maybe not deserve, but it's something effectively say, okay, great, like star destroying whatever, like that's what's next.
Yes, right. So here's what happened. So this cluster is about 700 million years old, which is a crazy number. And it's weird to think about that, much less, it's like trying to imagine what a billion is, You'd have to be Peter Kellner to pull that off. This thing is anomalous because these kinds of clusters can slowly fall apart over time, right? Due to the change in the life cycle of the star and so on. But that's not the case here. Some huge mass of something hit them, and then Kaiser Sose the hell out of Dodge, the hell out of this cosmic Dodge. No one has a clear suspect. A research fellow, Teresa Jarapova, who wrote about this and kind of got us onto this mystery, says that, maybe it could have been a gas cloud, or maybe it could have been another star cluster of some sort. But there's nothing in the vicinity that could conceivably do that, which means that everybody's
maybe it was invisible the whole time.
Yeah, right. It means everybody's favorite spooky villain in the world of astronomy, dark matter, comes into play. And this is weird because dark matter is a yet to be confirmed substance. We know something like it probably exists. It would explain a lot of questions people have, but there's no, there's no Well, according to official word, there's no like top secret lab in a bunker somewhere where there's a little vial of just straight up dark matter and everybody's like, stay away from it. You start speaking a weird language. We think it's Sumerian. We're not sure. But that would be cool. Someone should write that. This stuff is supposed to surround and inhabit galaxies. And it's, like you said, Matt, invisible, but massive. So it could potentially end up in a big loose clump that interacts with a star cluster in a way that we can't see because our vision is partially obscured. We can only, we think, tell the effects and the actions of this dark matter. But watching it destroy something or watching the results of that would be like us watching an invisible person attack something, you know what I mean? Tear apart that helicopter. This is strange because it comes on the heels of another recent discovery that there seems to be a massive structure of some sort underpinning the universe as we know it. Did you guys hear about this one?
I did not.
Yeah, I'm learning about this for the first time right now. Wow. So it looks as though the person that you just mentioned, Teresa, this person did run the tests multiple times, the simulations, because it's just data and running simulations about like what could have caused this and what would make sense. It looks as though they're spending quite a bit of time attempting to figure it out, and it does feel like it's very early in the discovery phase. I am interested to see what comes of this.
Yeah.
Because that's not very far away. 153 light years. Is that correct?
That's correct. So in galactic terms, it's a lot like you walk outside of your house one day in a suburban neighborhood and you turn around and you say, oh, my neighbor used to have a roof and at least a much bigger house. Where did it go? There are no missing bricks, etc. Well, that's not entirely true. The way they found it is pretty clever. There are trails that they observed, and they couldn't explain what they thought of, what were described as tidal streams and tidal tails in the star cluster. Those are threads of stars that have started to come loose from the cluster, both in front and behind it, meaning that something out there in the ink is capable of moving an entire star. I mean, do you even lift, bro? That's humbling. So we've got some excellent research from the European Space Agency, which is where Jerebkova is, and the European Southern Observatory. But the more they learn about it, the more they notice from those simulations that they just can't explain what's happening, but they can kind of get a sense of the size, at least, without knowing exactly what it is. They believe that the best way for them to explain whatever's eating these stars is to say that it was something about 10 million times the mass of the sun. That's how big something would need to be to do this. Again, right next door to us in galactic terms. And that is so big that it wouldn't have had to necessarily be a collision or necessarily be some kind of consumption, you know what I mean, like a black hole or whatever going through. Instead, for something that big, they would just need to have a, quote, close interaction. And what could they have a close interaction with? And that's why they're thinking dark matter, because even though we haven't proven the existence of dark matter or haven't confirmed it to everyone's satisfaction, experts calculate that dark matter makes up roughly 80% of all matter in the universe, meaning that we, listening to and making this podcast today, are very much in the minority when it comes to matter. We know that this stuff, if it exists, or we theorize it, if dark matter existed, it would shape normal matter into the galaxies we saw today. And I thought of, when I read this, I wanted to share it with everyone because it reminds me of a project we did a number of years ago where we thought, what are the various ways the world could end without you knowing too far in advance and without you being able to stop it, right? So like the decay of the natural environment is something that people can see happening over time. But we're one gamma ray burst away from the end of the world. You guys remember those things?
Yeah, Ben, I want to learn more about these things that they're calling dark matter subhalos. So this is something from that European Space Agency article that I was looking at. It's saying that these subhalos are naturally occurring clumps of dark matter that are thought to help shape the galaxy during its formation. Okay, so like you were saying, if dark matter is not just theoretical and is real, then these chunks of it, these clumps of dark matter, end up being the substructures. It's so interesting to me that, I don't know, it's hard to even conceptualize in my mind.
Yeah.
But it would make total sense. It would make total sense gravitationally, I guess, or if, because that's the thing that I don't understand. If it's dark matter, is it physically interacting, or is it just getting close enough to have a gravitational pull, essentially, that then changes the star? I need to get a degree or something, or take a class.
I mean, maybe we just need to do more mushrooms, honestly. Maybe it'll make more sense then.
Here.